Welcome back, everyone, to a new episode of Screenplay Rewind. I'm Jeff.
I'm Ron.
And our franchise special continues with a little franchise you may or may not have heard of, Ron. Are you familiar with Lord of the Rings? It's like an indie cult film.
I was going to say, I'm not really into the
2000s.
indie scene.
Yeah. It's like Kevin Smith, Lord of the Rings, right? Isn't that the same?
Yeah. Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Same track.
It's in indie darling, 9 hours of trilogy.
This Peter Jackson might have a future. I don't know.
I mean, I've seen The Hobbit, so he didn't have that much of a future. Just say.
Dude, that fucking King Kong movie, by the way, I hate that movie.
Wait, was it a movie or was it just meandering waste of time? Because that's
okay. So,
this sounds like we're starting up a little sidebar trip. I'm all about it.
I had the misfortune of being one of the people that had to not only build up that fucking 3-hour behemoth, but then
take 3 years?
I had to load it to the platter, and then I had to screen it. I didn't even want to sit and screen it getting paid.
So was it like after you're on reel 45 of 50? Was it communicating telepathically like the fucking One Ring to roll the ball?
It felt like someone playing the Beatles album backwards, right? Like, the Hail Satan and all that. No, okay.
Ron, you just got to share the load, buddy.
Share the load. So, welcome to our new meme. That's got to be a new channel.
Share the load.
Share the load.
Share the load.
So, no. Okay, Jeff, you're familiar. You have a print that long. You load it to a platter. It's always going to be way too tight. And when that center ring is popped, it does that little...
Don't you just hate it when your center ring gets popped?
Oh, God, I know. But it...
Man. I remember prom night.
Oh. I don't think that's the way it's supposed to work, my friend.
Share the load.
But
this is already off the fucking rails. I love it. Continue.
You know how the inside pops in and it makes that little bubble?
Yes.
So...
Oh, no.
I never went upstairs to check on the print, even though that would have given me a reason to not be in the auditorium. And that fucker threw.
Hey, you were just trying to save the audience from being very, very bored and very, very angry. Because that movie was fucking boring. It had 5 minutes. When they get to the island and the centipedes and shit, and then you know how it becomes Kong Skull Island for 5 minutes? That part's pretty cool. The rest of it is I can't even tell you what the fuck happens.
Dude, I thought that night was never going to end.
I think Jack Black was in it. Was Jack Black in it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What?
That tells you the quality of that movie.
Get it.
No, I thought that night was never going to end. I had to build it up for fucking ever. I had to load it for fucking ever. I thought the movie itself was never going to end, and then it threw. And for people that don't know, the print is literally hanging off the side of the projector in one big mess that you have to sort out and put back together. And this means anything that's damaged that won't run, you got to cut out and splice back together. And then your splices can't be too close, so you might have to cut out another section. And it's... And
now it's all on a hard drive.
And now it's on a hard drive that gets beamed via satellite. They don't even have anyone do anything. It's just automated.
God, it makes me sad. But I mean, technology is amazing, but it also makes me sad at the same time.
I deserved hazard pay for that movie. That movie was...
Yeah, fuck that movie. Well, it's just it's like Lord of the Rings almost ruined his career because everything he made after it, he had this fucking filmmaker complex of it has to be a 3.5 hour epic.
Yeah, he's a visionary, clearly.
No, Lord of the Rings needs to be 3-hour epics because Lord of the Rings is a fucking fantasy, high fantasy novel series. You wanna know what's not a high fantasy novel series? the movie about the fucking giant monkey.
That goes to the center of the earth and gets an axe to fight a giant lizard in Hong Kong.
And even that movie wasn't that good.
Oh, dude.
But I don't think we're digging up and having to delete fucking Silmarillion lore from the King Kong movie, Peter Jackson. Maybe don't make it 3.5 hours long. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. But you know what movie is worth talking about? That is an epic, and that's the fucking Two Towers, dude. Holy shit, the Two Towers is amazing.
Fucking love
so good.
Two Towers. So
it's just
good.
This when this episode is not just completely derailed horror stories from our time at Cinemark. It's probably just gonna be me and Ron be like, hey, you wanna know what's a good movie? The Two Towers.
The Two Towers.
But before we dive in,
there's two of them, Geoff. There's not one tower.
Wait.
There's two.
There's two?
There's two.
Are the towers sharing the load?
They are sharing the load, yes. That's why there's two.
Share the load.
You have to have your load-bearing towers.
Yeah, you gotta have your Christopher Lee, and you gotta have your giant fucking eyeball. You can't, never go without. But
this whole thing is a euphemism at this point.
Oh, yeah. It's all, what was the, we've created several Pornhub categories in the 6 minutes we've been recording. What'd you say? Popping scenery? We have a quick little email from Bobby to include. He said, sorry this arrived late. Joke's on you, Bobby. We recorded late, so you arrived just in time.
Bobby always arrives just when he intends to.
He's never early nor late. Family and holiday stuff. So I think you understand. He's saying why his email was late asterisk, even though it was not. He has a follow-up to, I believe either on the second to last episode or the last episode, we had an email prompt from him where we were combining characters or like concepts from two different franchises and merging into one movie. His answer, since we had asked him about his response, was to see Ripley from Alien and McCready from The Thing fight a predator, which is a movie I would see.
My favorite part of this email, though, is thank God he specified that it was Ripley from Alien and McCready from The Thing, because otherwise I'd have been totally lost.
It's like the guy with the sideways sombrero hat from the movie In the Cold.
I want a scene, though, where he loses that hat halfway through the movie, and the predator finds it and just puts it on his head and continues to hunt them. And what would be even better is if he cloaks, so there's just this floating hat in the jungle.
Or you know how the predator has that like fucking chakra type thing that he throws, like the spinning blade. It's just McCready yeeting the hat, and that's
like
his throwable one. Yeah. This is the greatest move I've ever seen. And then Ripley just throws the cat, and everyone's just throwing shit.
Get away from the hat, you bitch. Oh my God. No, sadly what this would turn into due to studio though would be Alien versus Predator versus The Thing. And
yeah,
Alien and
I would still watch it.
Yeah, I would still watch it. But
I would still watch it.
Could you imagine not knowing which Predator is the Predator, but still being fucking terrified of both?
Yes, I totally can, and I want this to happen now.
No, you don't. I finally saw that other Thing movie. No, you don't.
Oh, why'd you get to fucking remind me of that bullshit?
I actually am okay with that movie, as long as I don't think of it as a Thing movie.
That movie immediately loses all respect just because all the fucking creature effects are CGI. Missing the entirety of why the original movie is like beloved. It's like the special effects, the practical effects are like one of the most like iconic things about that film.
Yeah,
and it's all in fucking CGI, and it hurts my fucking soul.
As a The Thing movie, I don't like it. As just a sci-fi movie, it was fine.
I'm too invested in it. I can't detach. It's my arguably my favorite just movie and my favorite horror movie.
It was our first episode, I believe.
Yep.
So,
yep.
Over a year ago now.
Crazy.
Can you believe people have put up with us for a year?
Yeah, that's one thing I wanted to quickly bring up in this just speaking of segue section that we have going great here.
Share the load.
Spotify with I'm gonna have to share the load as one of the Discord channels.
Hashtag share the load.
Hashtag share the load. So Spotify, which owns Anchor, the platform that we host our podcast through, has a little like year in review section, and it has like little factoids about like how many minutes you've had of like runtime and all that shit. And like the scariest statistic I've ever seen in my entire life, even scarier than Peter Jackson's King Kong, is the fact that 5 of our listeners listen to Screenplay Rewind more than any other podcast.
So let's see. Christina, Bobby, Aurora listened to 1.
And that's it immediately.
And there's 3 of them.
Yeah. So 2 of you people out there need to find better quality podcasts. Share the load.
2 of you people have no excuse is the word I was looking for.
Yes. Nailed it first try.
Yep.
First you want to talk about 2 towers? You want to talk about the fucking 2 towers and how fucking awesome it is? So what we talked about last time was, I don't know if you're aware of this, Ron. There were 3 Lord of the Rings films.
I thought you were going to say towers. I'd be like, what?
Damn it, I spoiled the 3rd act twist. God damn it.
They had to edit one out for time.
What the twist? That's the extended edition cut of the 2 towers is the 3 towers.
Oh god. This is my favorite episode we've ever done already.
No, my brain just cut to the fucking Phantom Menace meme of now there are 2 of them. I'm not even drunk. Why is this episode so off the fucking rails already? Oh my god. Oh dude, this is gonna be good. So basically we spent the entirety of our Fellowship episode not talking about the movie.
Yep. That's about
we were
to happen
talking
again.
about yeah, as we cut ahead to almost 15 minutes into this one, we haven't talked about anything other than sharing the load, 3 towers, and popping center rings. That's all we've talked about. And I wouldn't have it any other way.
Center ring twists are my favorite thing on the menu, by the way.
Oh no, you gotta pay extra for the center ring twist. Oh god, this episode's just never gonna end.
Nope.
This episode's gonna be almost as long as Peter Jackson's King Kong.
It'll probably throw near the end too.
Oh, it fucking already threw.
Discord threw us last time.
Dude, what a fucking mess. Okay, so we talked about actually wanting to dive into more specific conversation about scenes, set pieces. I don't know where to begin. Do you take notes when you talk about something as like iconic or as rewatchable as Lord? Because I've seen Lord of the Rings so many times, I almost have like the script memorized by now. So I don't need to rewatch these to talk about them, but I do because I love them. But like, do you write any notes down when you rewatch these?
Sometimes I don't write down notes because I don't need to. Sometimes I don't write down notes because I don't want to. I don't want to turn away. I want to focus on the movie. I did that for Nightcrawler. I've done that for both of these movies so far because I don't want to divert my attention without having to pause it and rewind or something. I just want to sit and enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have any notes, but anything I figure I've forgotten, I figure knowing you'll walk us through it, and anything that I feel like I have forgotten will come back because I have seen these movies so many times. I don't think I have them memorized to the point that you do, but I mean, I can recall scenes and dialogue.
Yeah, I can almost quote like entire sections of it because I've just seen these movies so many fucking times. But just the very first note that I want to make sure I cover, I didn't take notes either. It's just a mental note. How good is the sequence breaking of this movie? Because the first movie, you know, they're all together the bulk of the time. They have some cutaway sections, you know, like where they have like the Gandalf stuff going alongside, you know, the Frodo stuff and so on and so forth. But this movie has, what, like 4 parallel storylines happening, I think? Because you have...
And it's a really...
Frodo...
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying it's a really good mix of stuff that's kicking into high gear, and then you cut away to take a break for a moment. And then you kind of come back. It has a really good mix of fast action and low action going on.
Yeah, and they know exactly
when to cut,
when to cut, who to cut to. It's just like one of maybe the best edited movies I've ever seen. When you really just think about how seamless it is and how many important like new characters and locations they're establishing. You know, like especially like, you know, they have a lot of characterization to get through with Rohan specifically, in a short amount of time. Is Rohan's theme not like one of the top 3 best themes? I love that theme, especially with the violins. Holy shit, it's so good.
So happy every time I hear the theme for Rohan.
It's so fucking good. God, like the fucking 12th best theme of the score is still incredible. It's amazing. We didn't mention that in the first movie, but one of the Oscars they got was Howard Shore getting the Oscar for best score, and thank God, because it's just fucking masterpiece, dude. Absolute fucking.
It's kind of incredible how these movies came together at all, because you could easily see a handful of aspects being good, or even just one aspect being great. But when you're talking about the editing, the scene play, the screenplay, the dialogue, score, the performances, like, my God, like, everything is top notch in all three of these movies. And that is kind of like the MCU. It's just a miracle that it even happened or exists the way that it does.
So fucking good, dude. And when they're cutting away too, like, a lot of times movies that have like parallel storylines, they'll cut at like an annoying time where you're just like, dude, what are you doing? Go back to this. But everything they're cutting to is always so compelling.
Yeah.
That you're never irritated by it. It's just fucking masterclass. And like, for them to be making these back to back to back, like, they didn't have time really to like take a step back and evaluate, like a lot of movies do, where you're having at least like a 3 to 4 year break between. You know, you can really dive into your scripts and your actors, and you can just really like figure out what works, what we need to fix. But this was pretty much all done on the fly.
Yeah, as I say, what you just described is the way Dune, I believe, is doing it. I think they got the green light to start filming the second one after they saw the box office returns on the first one.
Yeah.
Because Villeneuve was talking about, like, are we going to do these back to back? And then he started filming the first one. They're like out in the desert and shit. And he's like, no, we are not filming these back to back. I want out of the desert. So they didn't do that. And then because they didn't decide to do that from the get-go, they had to wait to get the green light. So, which is the way most stuff works. Again, we talked about this. Exactly. We talked about this with Fellowship, but still, it bears repeating. What a risk! They filmed 3 movies and didn't even know how the first one was going to do. Like, what?
And not even, and that would be tough if they were normal length.
Yes,
but these are 3 hours long. Return of the King, I think, is 3.5 hours long. These are the trimmed down versions. So like. Yeah. It's just fucking absurd. It's just how is everything so, like, how does every decision that gets made the correct one?
Yeah, exactly. You know? The odds are just astronomical. And
fucking
here we are talking about Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers.
20 years later, you know, like one of the most iconic franchises ever. You know, just fucking nuts, man. It just I don't understand how it happened. I really don't. I'm so glad that it did, but fucking crazy.
Talking about the score, though, since you mentioned it, you know, the overall Lord of the Rings theme, every time I hear the big crescendo of that, if I'm not watching the movie, if I hear, like, listening to the soundtrack, or it comes on whatever service I'm listening to, the image that pops in my head is Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli running across the top of the mountain, and that big flyover shot with it playing when it cuts to them. That is the image that pops in my head. That's one of the first few images you see in this movie.
Are you talking about the like like the Fellowship song? Or
yes.
Yeah, I love that one. It's so good. It just instantly makes me want to go get in a bar fight every single time. I love it.
You can apply it to anything. That's it. That's the YouTube channel we're going to start. We're going to take whatever we can find and just apply that music to it and immediately make it epic. It doesn't matter what it is.
I think we could apply that music to King Kong and it would still be boring. Dude, I think that's the exception to the rule.
That picture I sent you of my dog just lounging in his bed. Just yeah, just a still of that for, you know, a minute and a half, and that's the whole video.
Just a 5-minute video of me doing the dishes in real time, but you put ba ba da da ba da da. It's like, oh, dude, he put the fucking spoon away. Holy shit! It's so good.
Starting the dishwasher. Bum bum bum.
Yeah. It's like synced up with the
folding
latching
the laundry.
it in a,
yeah.
Oh man, fucking great. Can we talk about how maybe one of my like just absolute favorite fucking moments in cinema is the opening scene of this. Gandalf falling after the Balrog and catching his sword in midair like a complete fucking badass.
If you're falling to your death, you might as well take someone with you. Like,
and then like, man, dude, the fucking sound effect of when he grabs the sword and you're just like, fuck yeah, dude. You just feel it in your nerd bones, dude. I love it.
I did not know if you're going to say nerd bones or nerd boner. I could not tell which way you were going.
Dealer's choice, dude.
Share the load.
Dealer's.
That's the third tower.
Share the load. That's the third tower.
That's the third tower. The nerd boner.
Share the load. Oh, not the nerd boner, dude. You have better luck at Mount Doom than the fucking nerd boner. Never go there, dude. Bad things happen to good people at the nerd boner, dude. Don't do it. Don't do it, dude.
I just imagine Aurora behind you going to get like a bottle of water, just hearing you mention the words nerd boner like 3 times in a row.
I think that ship already sailed when popping the cinder ring happened. Here's another interesting thing too that we didn't really talk about in the the one thing we didn't talk about in our besides the second thing we didn't talk about in the Fellowship outside of the movie itself. The perspectives of the way they filmed the hobbits and Gimli is so fucking good. It should be so distracting and so annoying. I never even think about it at all.
Seems natural.
And I've seen like the fucking making of videos of the perspective tricks and stuff. And so like I should be looking out for it, but I don't even notice it because it's just fucking seamless, man.
Didn't they pioneer a filming technique that we use today with not just that, but the way we do like chase scenes? Because I had always heard or read somewhere or something that at the end of Fellowship, when they're running through the woods, they're actually running in a circle around a single group of trees, and the camera is just on a track following them. And, and that's how they got the steady shot of it, rather than it being all shaky with the cameraman running after them.
That makes sense.
It was like no one had ever thought to do that before, and they just had it in a big enough loop that they didn't look like they were running in a circle. Basically, like they weren't leaning in the run, and that's I don't know. That's one thing that I always heard. I assume that that's true, or I read it somewhere a long time ago. But I want to say that that's like the way we do those type scenes today. That's why everything is all steady, or at least until like the new stabilization technologies that we have now came out.
Yeah,
because
like what they used for like 1917 and stuff. Yeah.
So some of that active stabilization shit is absurd. And how good it is.
Absolute sorcery, dude.
Yeah, but for a while that's how we were doing those type of scenes, was just running in a circle, and Peter Jackson and his DP came up with that.
Yeah, it's absolutely absurd, dude. And like the one aspect of that really caught my eye at this viewing of the Three Towers, was they do such a good job with Gimli. Because, all of his fucking scenes.
It was hard enough that you have 4 characters at a different perspective. And then you have to add another one that has its own perspective.
Yeah. But it's always like, man, just like the amount of time and tedious fucking filming that had to happen just to get the Gimli scenes down. Had to have been irritating as fuck. But man, it's good. It's so well done.
And again,
that's also so this is Aurora's first time watching these movies. Her favorite character by far is Gimli, and I'm like, yes.
I'm okay with that.
Gimli is fucking awesome.
Yeah, this movie has some of my favorite Legolas Gimli moments too.
Shall I describe it to you? Or should I find you a box?
And then
oh god.
Toss me.
Don't tell the elf.
Don't tell the elf. The way Aragorn looks at him when he says, toss me. And he's just like, the fuck?
Also, one of the best scenes and moments in the entire trilogy is where, towards the beginning of the movie, when Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli run into our boy Carl Urban.
Yes.
And Legolas is surrounded by an entire fucking army of the dudes on horseback.
And don't give a shit.
It doesn't give a flying fuck because Carl Urban talks shit to his boy Gimli, which is really funny because it's like I love the bromance because like they hated each other at first because they were both kind of racist against the opposite, They both hated Like he was like, I'll never see the ring in the hands of an elf or whatever, and then they eventually become, buddies, through they're fucking in a war together, they're brothers in arms pretty much. So he's like, when Karl Urban just mouths off to Gimli, and Legolas pulls that fucking arrow in the middle of his entire battalion, and is just like, you'd be dead before your sword fell or whatever. It's like, fuck yes, dude. The bromance,
and
yes.
Gimli just has that deep exhale when everyone relaxes.
Yeah, and he's caught off guard too, because they're still realizing at that point how good of a friend they are to one another. I love their characters, so good. Pretty much I think my favorite character is just the trio of Aragorn, Gimli, and Legolas, because they're always my favorite part of the movie.
Christina asked me who my favorite character was. Or who my second favorite character was, because she knows Aragorn's my favorite. And I was like, I think that depends if it has to be character or if it can be like characters. Because if I can have a 2A and a 2B, it's got to be Gimli and Legolas. If I can't, it probably got to be Gandalf.
I think my favorite is still Aragorn, and I think Legolas, Gimli, and Gandalf are like 2A, 2B, and 2C.
In no particular order.
In no particular, because they're just all fucking great.
Legolas, like I could take Gimli on his own. Legolas has to come with Gimli, I think. I don't think Legolas works for me personally without Gimli.
True, but he does have some of the coolest action sequences. Like, dude, the scene where he's sliding down the fucking staircase on the shield, shooting everybody, and then launches the shield to kill another dude.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking amazing. To the but as if it wasn't epic enough, you're but I'm just like, fuck yes, I love you, Peter Jackson. Marry me right now. Oh, dude, fucking great. I don't even know where to fucking begin.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what direction to go with this.
I don't even know, because like, how do you? Because there's so many storylines going on. Let's talk about Rohan, because that's a specific thing that really starts.
I was going to say let's start with the new stuff, and I was going to start with Rohan, which basically modeled off of Vikings, which I'm fucking into. So
yeah, he even ends up calling Eowyn like a shield maiden.
Yes.
So they're exactly Viking, and also just the fact I think one of the coolest things they do with Theoden's character is how, he's always willing to fight. Like, he's not on the front line, but just like how a Viking king would be, he's willing to fight, and because he's one of the first people at like the front line at the bracing the gate when they're retreating. Like he's willing to fight, and I think that's a cool detail to make them more Viking-ish, because he's not like your typical. You think of like Joffrey from Game of Thrones, that type of thing, like just absolutely terrified to participate, and he's not.
There are certain societies, Vikings being one of them, that there's a reason people follow the king that they follow. Like there's the reason that the leader is the leader, and
you got to earn it instead of it just being
There's a reason why when he says this is cutting ahead a little bit. There's a reason why when he tells everyone in Return of the King that no, we're not gonna win, we're gonna ride to our deaths, but they're gonna fucking remember us, and they all follow him.
And if you gotta going out on horseback, just trampling them all as you're going, that's a pretty great fucking way to go.
I know.
It's so good. Is the Helm's Deep battle like the coolest action set piece in the movie? Because it's up there. It's in the conversation. It's just that fucking good.
I think so, yeah. It's definitely so my favorite of the trilogy, but as far as in any movie goes, it's, oh god, it is so high up on the list.
It's like the first two my brain goes to when, if you want to talk. No, now the Return of the King has a couple too. The Minas Tirith stuff in Lord of the Rings, in Return of the King
Lord
is
of the
fucking
Rings.
Incredible. In the Three Towers, in the extended edition, it's amazing. They actually tried to breach and pop Minas Tirith's center ring in the Three Towers, but they couldn't make it just far enough. So many just fucking in jokes.
I almost added to it and I stopped.
Then you had more restraint than me.
I almost didn't. My hesitation was me literally fighting it back. But yes.
Well played.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Eowyn, by the way? Because the whole love triangle, which I don't really think it's made up for the movies, but I don't think it's as like gratuitous a love triangle as they could have made it. It's just kind of like there, but it's not. I don't like groan out loud every time they go to that subplot, you know? Like a lot of people complain about it. What are your thoughts on like the Eowyn thing and like the quote unquote love triangle and shit like that?
It doesn't serve any purpose, but I don't think it's egregious. I think if you had to shoehorn that in somewhere, those characters make sense.
Because I kind of, because from what I've heard, no, I think I read the first two novels when I was in high school, but I don't think I ever finished by reading the third one.
You're one of those.
But from what I remember people talking about is how Eowyn is basically just like a non-factor in the novels, but they really made her more of a character in the movies. And if you have to, you know, introduce elements of the love triangle just to have an excuse to make her more of a character, I'm okay with it. I actually like her character a lot.
Yeah,
in movies.
I think she's underutilized.
Yeah, I think you know, she has some of the coolest moments in the third movie. You know, like I am no man. You know, I love that scene. I think it's really cool.
And that was before Hollywood even moved in that direction.
Yeah, and it's just
trailblazers.
It's just good stuff. Yeah, I always like and fucking Carl Urban, dude, our boy. You know, I think you want to talk about like underutilized characters. There's no room, but you know, I'm always willing to have more Carl Urban in any movie.
I pointed out to Christina that he is the one banished, and like their entire fucking army left with him. Like. That shows you how commanding that character is. That either A, he said I was banished and they left with him on their own, or B, he said I'm banished, let's ride, and no one stood up and said no, fuck you. They said all right, either way you play it, he's that commanding of a character. They're all willing to follow him that much.
Yeah, exactly.
He's the one banished, and everybody went with him, and it's like their entire force almost.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
He's like the,
and
he has like they end up saying he has like a couple of thousand.
Yeah.
Because like Aragorn at one point, you know, he says you have like a few, you know, 1,000 good men out there if you're just willing to reach out to Éomer.
And on top of it, like he is more than aware that Wormtongue is the problem. So in his exile, he is still serving the country. He's still riding around, taking out all the orcs and Uruk-hai and all of them that he can find.
We got to talk about too just how fucking awesome Brad Dourif is at being just disgustingly slimy in this movie. I love his performance
scene
a lot.
With Éowyn.
Oh man, it just makes your skin crawl, dude.
Oh my god.
I like too, like it looks to be like a makeup choice, but he always appears like literally slimy, you know? Yes. He looks like he just hasn't had a fucking shower in like a week, and it's gross and it's great. I love it. I love his, because he doesn't like, he is kind of like chewing the scenery a little bit, but it's not over the top. It's always just seems kind of, I mean, his fucking character's name is Grima Wormtongue, you know? It's like par for the course, but I really like his characterization. Probably my only complaint with the movie is why the fuck doesn't Aragorn want him to die? I wanted him to die. I didn't see an excuse to keep him alive. He's just a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
He's a fucking asshole. And like, why would like Aragorn give a shit? You know?
Yeah, I don't have any idea why.
I think they could have like rewritten it not being Aragorn that stopped him, but make it like Éowyn, and then just have her like be like he needs to live with what he's done or something like that. Just any other route to exile, and like just I always find why they don't kill him very weird and kind of out of nowhere.
Yeah, I always found that very, very strange. The thing that I was going to point out, I've lost the name, and it's driving me insane. I was trying to Google it before I said anything, but they actually recreate this whole Wormtongue Theoden situation in Diablo lore. Do you remember when you and I played? Do you
remember
when you and I played Diablo 3 together? Do you remember fighting a giant skeleton named King Leoric, the Skeleton King?
Yes.
At the end of Act 1, and he was like a necromancer, like it was, I guess, like a Lich King. He's like raising skeletons and stuff. I want to say Lazarus was the Wormtongue character, but I can't figure it out. But anyways, there was a servant of Diablo that went out and became like the head advisor to King Leoric and talked him to moving his entire capital to Tristram, where Diablo lies. And from there, he's within Diablo's reach, and he starts manipulating him and driving him mad. And the only one he will listen to is, I believe it was Lazarus. I'm going to keep saying that. I'm probably wrong. Bobby would know. He's going to write in if I don't find it before I'm done here. But he, it's that's when the whole, what they call the darkening of Tristram started, when freaking Diablo started to return. And everything. It's the same situation. And when he dies, King Leoric is kind of trapped in Diablo's service, and that's when he becomes the Skeleton King. But they recreated the whole Wormtongue thing and King Theoden stuff in Diablo, and it was actually a really cool way to adapt it.
Yeah, I've always really, really liked. We're gonna discuss it in the probably specifically in the next episode of ours, where we talk about Return of the King, of like which ones of these is our favorite. But man, I always just love watching Two Towers so much.
Yeah, Two Towers it's up there. It's pretty great. I'd recommend it.
I mean, it's nowhere nearly as good as the Three Towers, let's be honest, but it's pretty close. Again, just this movie's like ability, and specifically just Lord of the Rings in general, how they have a dude pop up for 5 minutes and I'm like invested. Like I was just scrolling through the photos on IMDb and I don't even know his fucking name. What's the name of Galadriel's elf dude that comes to help him at Helm's Deep?
Oh, fucking Yorgi or whatever from Triple X.
He's in the movie for like 5 fucking minutes, and when he gets killed, I'm just like devastated. And I'm like, when Aragorn goes ballistic, I'm just like,
yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about now. Not her like life mate or whatever, but the people the people that they send to Helm's Deep.
Yeah, he has one of my favorite lines, like we've come to honor that allegiance.
Yes.
You're just like, fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so sad though. It's so sad when he goes.
It's always more sad too, like when you think about how, it's a sacrifice when the human characters die. But it's more of a sacrifice almost when the elves die, because they would be immortal. They're giving up immortality.
They're immortal and they're going extinct. There's not very many elves left.
Yeah, it's really it always adds like a twinge of like heartbreak to it.
Yeah.
When you just think about like what they're giving up to fight alongside them, and like when he dude, it's fucking devastating too. I know we're jumping all over the place, but it's Lord of the Rings. Like, what's gonna happen? Like, as he's dying, the last thing he really sees is just like
all of his brethren,
the slew of dead elves, and they're just like, man, that scene is so good. And the music, when they just cut and everything becomes kind of like hollow sounding as he's dying, and you just kind of hear like echoes of Aragorn, like yelling and trying to get to him, and you're just like, fuck, dude, it's so well done.
Yeah.
So good. So good.
Talking about new stuff. So we talked about Eowyn, we talked about Theoden and Wormtongue, but I want to talk about Jonathan Rhys-Davies' side job.
Oh my god. Jonathan Rhys-Davies has never gotten as much credit as the man deserves. Like, he's a goddamn treasure. I love that dude.
He's a goddamn treasure.
Oh. Ba-da-bum. Show's over.
Share the load.
Share the load.
That's gonna be our I have spoken at this point. This is the way. Share the load. Yeah, no, I thought I was gonna get in trouble because I said Fangorn Forest in the last episode, and as soon as I said it in the last episode, the reason I never said it again is I was like, wait a minute, which one's Lord of the Rings, which one is Witcher? Is Brokilon Witcher or is Fangorn Forest? But they both have a forbidden forest you're not supposed to enter with tree-like creatures that guard them. Which one is it? And I could not, for the life of me, during the middle of the episode, figure it out. But no, it turns out I was right.
Man, just a metal name too, Fangorn Forest. Like Tolkien, a fucking genius at naming shit. Everything sounds cool. It all should sound dorky as fuck.
Yeah, it should all sound stupid.
But it always just is epic in the moment.
But instead it raises that third tower.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, dude, Treebeard, is he one of the greatest characters in the movies? And he's only in really the one?
Yeah, what happens to, like, I would keep using them fucking, I mean, I know they're reluctant to fight, but like, man, maybe let's have a conversation with the murder trees. Like, you know?
Well, I think the job that they end up serving, though, is Saruman is basically powerless as long as they're there.
True.
I think that's the purpose that they're serving.
Maybe we borrow a couple of the trees. Like, they can come in useful, like, you know, a little bit later.
But with all of his, like, warlike machinations destroyed, like, I don't even know how much use he would be to Sauron anymore at that point anyway. He was literally just a war machine, and that's gone. Because we had to...
Yeah, his main purpose was already... His main purpose was already served because, you know, he created a lot of the soldiers that are still kind of in the wind. You know, like, they don't kill all of the Uruk-hai at the end of this movie, you know? Like, right. A lot of those soldiers are still in play because Saruman, you know, fucking bred them in their... Dude, every time you see a Uruk-hai being birthed in those sacks, is it not the most, like, disgusting thing you've ever seen?
Yeah, it's pretty gross.
I love it.
But dude, I just love how Treebeard, like, you meet him when he fucking stomps an orc to death, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's how you meet him. And then he ends up befriending the hobbits, and he's like this, like, gentle, like, kind soul. And then when he steps out and sees the trees cut down, and you just get a wizard should know better. Like,
yeah.
And he just completely turns, like, and just goes into complete, like, the Ents are going to war mode. And by the way, no one stops to discuss it. When he calls out to them and all the Ents gather, they just start marching when they see what he sees. They all just, there's no more, we need to gather and have a dialogue for like a week and a half again.
Yeah, it just shit. It was like the fucking shit got real screech, you know, and they're just doing it. And dude, the music when that happens too is so good. It's goddamn Howard Shore is just a fucking genius.
It's almost like a really hopeful, inspirational theme to it when that music kicks in and you just see them going. You're just like, yes, the wizard's going down.
It's just like, again, like, just like the way that they're able to encapsulate this dorky shit that should not work. The fucking talking tree, which, by the way,
his name is Treebeard.
Yeah. It talks about how he's sad that his tree bros got killed, that he's known
many of these trees were my friends.
Since Nut and Acorn. You're just like, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Tree Man. Oh, the trees are going to go fight. This is fucking awesome. And it's just like, dude, how does this work? And why is this like the greatest thing I've ever seen?
Yeah.
I absolutely, yeah. And John Rhys Davies is just so good. I like the scene where there's like, we have decided you are not orcs.
And Mary gets so mad.
Yeah.
It took them so long to decide that.
Yeah, they've been out there for like fucking 2 weeks as they're just talking about whether they're orcs or not.
And I love how it takes him a long time to talk about how long it takes to say something in Entish. That is a long, slow line he has when he's just like, it takes a long time to say anything in Entish.
Yeah.
So we don't say anything unless it's worth taking a long time to say. And you're just like, oh my God, Treebeard.
Move it along, dude.
Move it along.
Also, you talked about like the orc that he steps on, you know, when he's first introduced as a character. Unsung hero. All of the supporting characters who play the orcs and Uruk-hais, because man, they sell that shit, dude.
I know.
Looks like meat's back on the menu, boys. Like, oh, it's so fucking good. Like, they sell that shit. Like, they don't come across as people in costume. They come across, and that's another thing. Like, I think I talked about I might have mentioned it. Like, one of my biggest things that I hate and fucking can't stand about the Hobbit movies is them no longer being practically effect.
Right.
And you lose so much when they don't, because like they feel real. They come across as disgusting, just fucking murder machines that don't give a shit about anything. And when you turn them into video game cutscenes, it feels like it does such a disservice to like all of these amazing performances. You know, like, what about the legs? They don't need those. You know, just like so much like just amazing like delivery on the supporting actors playing the orcs. Like every single one of them nails it. You remember like in the third movie the like deformed orc that's running part of the Minas Tirith command, you know?
Yeah,
like that guy's amazing. Like just all the fucking orcs and Urukais are awesome.
That guy just looks like he has a story behind him.
Yeah. There's so much, you know, like environmental storytelling with just their weird little quirks they have with the way they talk, with their designs. They're always like unique.
Yeah,
they're never just copy paste. It's so good.
I always like traveling south. Always feels like I'm walking downhill.
Yeah, I also like when they call the fucking tree council. I always like looking at the designs of the other Ents too. It's very fun. You see like just like how like some have like giant noses and stuff, and they're always just very very specific, which would make sense because you know they're fucking trees. Like it's pretty cool. I fucking love this movie.
I'm trying to find the quote, but I'm realizing these movies on IMDb have the longest quote page I think I've ever seen. I've been scrolling this entire conversation trying to find, and it's not even here. I just hit the bottom. It's
because they never waste a moment. You know, like every line is important, and every line develops someone's character or just conveys really, really needed exposition without feeling. Man, when you just think about like how much information these movies convey without feeling like, I don't know what's like the word for it. It always just feels organic in the moment, and it doesn't feel like it's contrived at all with the way that they have to convey this information. Mostly because the performances is just next level. You also just want to talk about like we talked about in the last couple episodes how this shit shouldn't work. Mm-hmm. How in the third act when the Ents are kicking ass and the one Ent gets set on fire, how my girlfriend was like audibly concerned that the tree got on fire, that I had to rewind the scene where he gets to put his fire out in the the water.
Head in the water.
Because he sticks his head in the water. I was like, now did you see that the tree's okay? I love it.
So I wanted to make sure I got it right because this is lost because you have to hear the way Jonathan Rhys-Davies says it to really appreciate it. But come, my friends, the Ents are going to war. It is likely we go to our doom, the last march of the Ents.
Alongside that theme.
All with that theme, with just all these fucking trees coming out of literally the woods, heading towards the tower. And it's one of the coolest fucking things, and one of the coolest fucking quotes, and one of the coolest fucking line deliveries.
It gets you like on the edge of your seat, fucking goosebumps.
You're cheering for the goddamn tree.
For the fucking trees, dude. The fucking trees are gonna go take on the army of orcs and the white wizard. Yeah.
This is the nerdiest conversation we have ever had.
When you watch the movie, you're just like, this is amazing.
Third tower erection.
This is the best shit I've ever seen.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's just fucking amazing. I don't know how he fucking did it. Like you know what? I don't like almost any movie he's done after these, but they were all worth it to get these because you know what? He might see himself. He might not, be proving anymore that he is a visionary, but for this period of time, he was a fucking visionary.
He absolutely was.
These movies are fucking next level, and they shouldn't work, and they totally do. They're so far ahead of their time.
The last quote that I wanted to put out there, talking about the Ents, I fucking love when our trio comes across the same where Treeboard stomped on the orc, and Aragorn just goes, "These are strange tracks." He's just staring at the ground, like, what am I looking at?
I also like when I'm watching the movie and I see those couple of orcs that get punted and are probably still falling to this very day. And I just immediately think, yeah, those two orcs that just got punted into orbit are the Ron and Geoff of the Lord of the Rings franchise.
I also love, though, just the sound design of Fangorn Forest. Whatever that moaning, creaking, ambient sound is, the entire time in the forest.
It's so creepy.
It's so good.
Yeah.
And like instantly when they walk in, Legolas is just like, these trees are alive. And everyone's like, yeah, they're trees. And he's like, no, these trees are like talking. Yeah.
Because it's interesting too. I really like the way that, I'm glad you mentioned that, how this movie at the drop of a hat, can just turn eerie. Because like the scene I think of in the third movie is, you remember, like
what madness drove them in there?
Yeah, when they start establishing the ghosts, and it's just like, all of a sudden, it just, because Peter Jackson has a horror background, at the drop of a hat, he can turn into a fucking horror movie if he wants to. It's pretty cool.
I feel like since you jumped to the ghost part of the third movie, there's like one of our 5 listeners just like, there's ghosts in the third one? I just like that idea.
What the fuck is this?
There's ghosts? We went from trees to ghosts?
This is the stupidest shit I've ever heard. Yeah, there are
kiss
ghosts.
My center ring.
They haunt the remnants of the third tower. Oh god.
Oh dude.
Oh, really great element that also has an amazing sound effect is the Nazgul.
Oh.
How awesome are the fucking Nazgul, dude? The fucking, when you hear like that screech of theirs, and then you start hearing like how heavy the wings sound with the sound design. Is it not amazing? You're just like, oh fuck, shit just got really, really real fast.
What is truly amazing about the Nazgul screech is how in the movie you see everyone is like unable to bear it, but it's not an obnoxious, annoying sound design for the audience. Like you can get the feeling of, wanting to grab your ears and drop to the ground like everyone does when they hear it in the movie. But you can listen to it as an audience member, and it's not like, oh my god, like you want to mute your TV anytime they're playing that sound. Like the fact that they can design that piece of audio that well alone is amazing.
It's so good. And I absolutely love the decision when they first introduce the Nazgul into the action sequence, at Osgiliath at the end of the movie, how like the first time is it just goes silent for a second, and then you hear the screech, and I think it's focusing on Faramir as, he just screams Nazgul, and everyone in the scene is just panicked immediately because they're aware of what it is, because it's just that fucking signature sound. It's so good.
Yeah.
So fucking good.
Just like the first movie, again, anytime the Nazgul comes into on screen, everything goes dead silent.
You want to know another interesting thing that I noticed on this viewing too? I might have noticed in the past, but I just caught my eye. These movies are so seamlessly fucking edited that you forget the characters aren't omniscient about information.
Yes.
Like the thing that made me realize this, especially this viewing, was when Faramir, talks to them about how Boromir had been killed, and they didn't know. And you're just like, oh yeah, of course they don't. They weren't there anymore.
Well,
but your brain tricks yourself, into just thinking everyone knows everything, because you just view it as the audience member, and you're like connecting dots for the characters, even though they couldn't.
What about Frodo and Sam? It's not until the end of Return of the King that Frodo even knows Gandalf's back.
Yeah, it's stuff like that. It's really cool. Because that your brain is just kind of like filling in the gaps, and then until you get kind of like shocked back into realization, like, oh shit, they would have no way to know that.
Yeah,
it's so cool that like you fill in the gaps, and you're oh, of course they know, I know, but it's not how it works. Like they have, because a lesser movie could forget that. A lesser movie would just assume that they know if they're not really paying attention, but they never lose track of like these just huge ongoing parallel storylines that, and just like the sequencing, as like you talked about earlier about how they always know the exact right time to cut back and forth. The Helm's Deep stuff is like some of the best action you've ever seen, like maybe the best like action set piece. But when they're cutting back and forth to other stuff, I'm not like screaming at the screen, go back to Helm's Deep. Like just to know when to cut away from something as amazing as Helm's Deep and not irritate the audience. Like, man, this movie.
They just got to edge that third tower. You don't want to blow it all at once.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. You got to be patient with it. You got to be patient with it.
What happened to this episode, Geoff?
It's a very good question.
Yeah, no, also just the passage of time in these movies, especially from movie to movie to movie, is really felt. like you can really see the toll that is being taken on Frodo every time we cut to him, especially from movie to movie. The changes that are happening to him, though, just the way hair and makeup is done on
and also just Elijah Wood. Elijah Wood is
Jesus.
His performance is very underrated.
Yes,
he's like the last person anyone wants to talk about. But the sequences in this movie, especially in Two Towers, when he's where he almost appears possessed, he's very good. Especially in the Osgiliath scene, you know, when he kind of like
is
does
presenting
like
himself to the Nazgul.
Well, like before that, when he says, you know, his eyes roll up in the top of his head, and he's like, they're here. Yeah. So good. He's great. It's funny. He's like technically the protagonist of the entire trilogy, but he's like the last person anyone talks about. Even though he's really good, he just doesn't have, you know, like, obviously he's just not as cool of a character.
Yeah, I was gonna say my problems are not with Elijah Wood, they're with Frodo.
Yeah. And even then, even though I think they actually do a good job of still keeping him he's not a incredibly interesting protagonist, but he's not a bad protagonist. He's still a pretty good character, as far as, especially I think Elijah Wood actually elevates it a lot. I think he's really good because Frodo totally could be one of those protagonists that I just hate, like a lot of movies where they just kind of forget to make the protagonist even likable, and you're just like, how is this person the main character?
Well, it's not even necessarily, I don't think, the character's fault either. It's the nature of their story. Like, they're supposed to be sneaking into the absolute last place they should ever want to go, especially with the ring in hand. Right? Like, they are
it's a suicide mission.
They're either going to destroy it or bring it right to Sauron. One of the two. Yeah. And that's the only way it can end. And odds are it's going right to Sauron. They have an entire fucking army between them and Mount Doom when they get there later. And they're trying to take... They're trying to... There's an army?
Pissed off that one guy.
They get to Mount Doom?
They actually get there? Wait, are they the ghosts? Are they dead?
What army is it? Is that the ghost army?
Oh my god. This third movie goes off the fucking rails. It has 12 different endings? What?
Yeah.
Oh man. I'm excited to talk about I think our third, I think the Return of the King episode is either going to be like 3 hours or like just 30 minutes. Just like, hey, share the load, bro. What do you want to talk about? Because it's just so hard to talk about. Because it's not possible to do. Just because of how fucking long they are, but it would almost be like better suited for a commentary, just to kind of just like talk and like, because once I'm watching the movie, part of it would be kind of hard because I just, you know, love the movie so much I get distracted and don't want to talk. But when you just sit someone down and be like, so what do you like about Lord of the Rings? It's like, well, everything.
Well, I'm a fan of rings and I like the idea of a lord.
Lord of the Center Rings.
Oh no. It just got worse. How did you make it worse?
I don't know. I'm kind of impressed by myself, though, so I'll take it.
But yeah, no. Helm's Deep. Yeah.
Goddamn.
We have to focus on Helm's Deep before we get out of here,
dude. But what is there even to? Okay. First of all, best siege in a movie. Just best siege in a movie.
Is that a category?
Yeah, it's the best. Well, there are like entire like, you know, like fucking. What is it? Oh god, Sultan Precinct 13. You know, you actually have some movies that are just all dedicated around like a siege. You know, this is the best one. This is the best like siege set piece in a movie, I think. Minas Tirith is fucking close, dude. Minas Tirith is fucking awesome.
Minas Tirith is good. I think the reason why Helm's Deep jumps out at me more is the situation just feels more desperate somehow. And
well, they have less because like they have more going for them at Minas Tirith. You know, like at least Gandalf's there. You know, like they have like some aces in the hole there. They're just kind of fucked at Helm's Deep. You know, they're both so outnumbered.
I mean, they're both kind of at the same level of fucked, but it's like there's no one that's gonna come to Rohan's aid. Like that's why it was so shocking when They showed up like Gondor. Like they have a whole thing dedicated to this. Like, where was Gondor? Right when we needed them, why would we help them? Like, there is no one that's going to come. They have no friends left. They have nothing. They're on their own. Their army is out roaming the countryside somewhere. It's the women, the children, the farmers. Like, they've got nothing. And they're holed up literally in a corner. I mean, they're just going to a mountain that has one tiny exit out the back, apparently. And the whole thing hinges on the wall not failing. But because we had to let Wormtongue live, he's talking about the one weakness the wall has. And they fucking blow it to hell. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah. It feels more desperate. The other thing, too, is I
love it being in the rain. It also just looks cool. It visually looks cool.
I was gonna say it's at night. It's got the mood for it, right? Like
so it begins.
Yeah, exactly. You've got the thunderstorm. You've got the nighttime. It's literally
it's more atmospheric. It's much more atmospheric.
It's their darkest hour, and the atmosphere is darkest hour, right?
Yeah.
And then, like I said, I'm not that guy. You know me. You know how, like, what movies I like. Anyone that's listened to this podcast knows what kind of movies I watch. There's something about Helm's Deep that is so much more in the realm of being believable than being fantastic, like Minas Tirith is, right? Like, Minas Tirith feels like you're sitting down to watch just, like, the craziest action or fantasy movie you can watch, whereas Helm's Deep, you take out the orcs and put them, change the orcs to men. Like, this could be a documentary. Like, it's
it's almost like Arthurian.
Yes.
It's like medieval. It's less fantasy, more like this could have happened in France in, like, the fucking 1400s,
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So there's that, I guess, more tactile.
It's more grounded
to it. Yeah.
Yeah, and not to say I like them both in different ways. Like, I love the atmosphere and how, like, just fucking tactile this feels, like you said, but I also love how fucking bonkers Minas Tirith.
Yeah,
with the fucking elephants and shit, dude.
Minas Tirith feels like the third act of a Marvel movie, right? Like, it's time to blow shit up now.
It just like you got marching elephants that are like 80 fucking feet tall. You got a ghost army. You got fucking Nazgul. It's like you just empty out the entire fucking toy box, Yeah. I love that about it. But Helm's Deep is just cooler.
It's got a grit to it.
Yeah, and when you see, they don't kill any, like, major characters at the Helm's Deep siege, but, like, like with, like, the elf dude that we can't even remember his name.
Yeah,
you're fucking invested when that happens, dude. You're just like, oh shit,
And there's also this. There's this part. Here's the thing with Minas Tirith being the big action sequence of the final movie. You have this, like, okay, how are we getting out of this thing, right? Like, we have to get out of this. We know we're getting out of this. Whereas Helm's Deep has this note of desperation that is so heavy. And then every once in a while, you have these hopeful moments with the music kicking in and, like, Aragorn and Gimli standing in front of the gate, just knocking everybody off of the fucking bridge, trying to buy time.
How great is it, them counting their kills? How great is that? I've always loved that.
I love that, and I just, like I said, it just has these. The other thing too with Minas Tirith is it feels like open warfare, whereas Helm's Deep, the entire time, they're just trying to buy time till Gandalf doing whatever the fuck Gandalf's doing. We don't know what he's off doing. We just know we have to live for 3 days. Back it up, back it up, back it up. They just keep retreating further into the keep. I don't know. The level of desperation with the moments of hope that come in just elevate it so much more for me. Whereas Minas Tirith is, all right, I got my popcorn, I got my soda, my candy's over here. Let's fucking go.
Yeah.
Like,
let's go. Yeah,
the moods are totally different.
It's like they both achieve exactly what they set out to achieve. Yes. It's just going for different things. And like you said, like there's with it being the ending of, like, the middle movie too. There's more sense of, like, oh shit, anything can happen. Because you're not expecting necessarily for, like, the good guys to win.
And at
like
this point, someone
there's more possibilities.
Yeah, and at this point, someone not familiar with the story or the books wouldn't necessarily know exactly what characters are safe either at this point. By the time we get to the third movie, knowing what everyone has gone through, it's like, okay, our trio is safe. Gandalf, he wasn't safe, and now he is. We've got it figured out. We know the formula by that point. But at Helm's Deep, anything can fucking happen at Helm's Deep, dude.
Exactly. And to your point, like I was talking about earlier about how like this is my first time watching it with my girlfriend. She's never seen them before. So even the sequence when Gimli gets like trapped underwater for a second.
Yeah.
Part of it is because he's your favorite character so far, but like my girlfriend like sat up in her chair and was actually like nervous he wasn't gonna make it, because that's what it's setting up to do.
Yeah.
But it's just incredible. One of the best just sequences in a movie, period. Just fucking incredible, dude. And I don't know what else to talk about. Do you have any other like kind of lingering things to talk about?
Let's talk about how suddenly we have horses in the banquet hall, and then we just ride out to meet them as Gimli blows the horn. Dude, how epic is that moment?
It's so good.
Because at this point,
it's incredible.
We've got nothing left, right? It's like, what do we need to do? And then ride out and meet them. And then at first, Theoden looks at him like, you're insane. And then he realizes, well, we're dead anyway. Are we going to die sitting here? Or are we going to do what Rohan fucking does best? Right? Mm-hmm. Rohan is known for their horses, their horse warfare.
Yeah. I think even their fucking theme is called like Ride of the Rohirrim or something.
Yeah.
It's like
like this is what they do best. So you're going to die anyway. Make them remember you. So, that whole scene, dude, that
shot too.
When it transitions from going with them, like that from chase camera to flyover as they go out the gate. It's so good. That transition.
As they're just trampling them all too and knocking them off the sides of the platform, like the bridge type thing. It's so good.
I don't know how they did that transition. We didn't have drones when this movie was made. So we went from chase camera to probably either overhead on soundstage or we're somewhere on a location with a helicopter doing a thing. I don't know how they did that transition.
Yeah, I don't either, dude.
I could understand a drone, but I don't understand how they did that. But when we go from chase camera to flyover as they're just riding their way through everybody, and like, talking to Christina about it when we were watching it, it's just like, this is what Rohan does. Like, their horses are the most sought after horses. They're the best horse breeders. They're the best horse riders. They're known for horse warfare. Horses are their thing. Horses are in their fucking helmets. It's carved into the wood in the cities. Like, this is what they do. And they're basically fucking Vikings, which means you don't want to mess with them to begin with. They're already, one of their soldiers is already worth many of another soldier. And orcs and Uruk-hai, they're not skilled. They're not working together. They're not banded together. It's a numbers game. They just have more orcs and Uruk-hai than you have Rohan people. Like, that's the whole goal. So, yeah. And in real life, right now, it's superior air power wins. There was time before that, it was the superior navy wins. Superior cavalry is what won before that. Anyone on horseback was a fucking tank, more or less. Because you didn't even have to swing a sword to throw a spear. Just trample them. Just run over them, circle around, and come back. And everyone, and the thing that is different when you watch these movies with anything Rohan, any movie that you watch, there is a contingent on horseback and a large force on foot. Anytime you see Rohan, each and every single one of those soldiers has a horse. They are all basically driving a fucking Jeep into war. Every single one of them. So any one of them is already worth probably 10 orcs on their own. And then they just ride out and meet them and completely cut their force in half. And they're getting their asses handed to them while they're the winning side. Like, like it's a numbers game. They're going to win. Rohan is going to lose. There's just too many. But for a moment, they are losing while winning. It's an odd thing to stop and watch because they're just slaughtering them as you see more and more coming.
Just casually.
Yeah.
Just casually, yeah.
Yeah. It's great.
It's great, too. Another thing that's really good that we didn't really talk about that we need to a little bit is how there are moments of it where it kind of feels dated.
Yeah.
But just how fucking good the Gollum effect is for its time is... it was mind-blowing back then, but I'm still impressed with it to this day, just how there's a lot of little details where, like, the lighting, especially in darker scenes, is just always very, very good with, like, Gollum should look like a fucking cartoon character. And he kind of does, but it works. I never feel like, there are certain sequences where you can tell, like, maybe they would have liked to have had more time or more money to develop it, but for such a new piece of technology, Gollum's effects is amazing, I think.
He never looks out of place.
Yeah, and also just like Andy Serkis, just like goddamn,
or he never has that
almost like saves the franchise, because if you had someone less talented doing the Gollum character, it could ruin the movie.
Andy Serkis became a household name after these movies.
Yeah.
No, Gollum. The other thing too about it is he doesn't have that weird shiny wet clay look to him that CGI characters tend to have. You know what I'm talking about? Like bad, like cheap TV shows CGI. Like that was cutting edge at one point in Hollywood. And
right.
The Thing movie we talked about earlier, that monster has that look. He looks like wet clay.
Well, yeah, they look like the thing that makes me think of is like a video game cutscene. Yeah. It feels like you're watching more of like elements from a video game cutscene than like part of the scene in an actual movie.
Yeah, and like while now he doesn't look as great as he did back then, like now you can tell he's a CG character. Back then he looked just as real as Frodo and Sam.
Yeah, it was mind-blowing, and I'm still kind of mind-blown to this day that it still looks as good as it does 20 years later. It still holds up 98% of the time. It's fucking crazy, dude. Just like, and it's not like we talked about, like they didn't have 3 years to perfect the CGI in between movies either. Like they did all this shit quickly. Like they were having to, like the fucking hours they had to work in the special effects department to get everything working is like, especially in Return of the King. Good God. And the Minas Tirith stuff, when you just think of how much shit was CGI being made in the early 2000s.
Do you know what it takes to do that? Money.
Lots of money.
And lots of money. Which means if Fellowship had bombed,
oof.
Dude. Because when you put out a product this good that fast, it's money doing the work. You're not getting quality or speed without money, and both of those things are expensive. You're doing both of them. If Fellowship had bombed, or not even bombed, but just kind of done mediocre, that would have been a failure, and we probably would have just stopped and not continued.
Could you imagine that alternate reality where
they Sonic the Hedgehog
was just like, where everyone was just like, you know what, that movie about Diablo in the mine and that dude from Indiana Jones talking real weird as a dwarf, like, man, that shit's fucking, and the fucking wizards, that shit's stupid.
The guy from Indiana Jones, that one listener said. Bad dates.
Oh, man.
It was real weird when Treebeard started talking about dates and monkeys.
Yeah, I liked it though. It was a nice little Easter egg,
Call back. Dude, okay, the last thing I have to touch on is just that wide shot with, on the right, you've got all your orcs and urukai, and on the left, you just have mounted cavalrymen just riding into them head on, and then you just have this bright beam of light coming from behind them. And the way it's shot, it is very intentionally showing you that this is a focused beam of light. It's not like just the sun is just coming up and lighting everything. This light is being focused directly at the orc, who already hate light to begin with. And then it's just being focused right on them to blind them. Because they're doing the thing you do to take out horses. They're digging their spears into the ground and holding them up. And it happens at just the right time that they all react so sharply, they pull their spears back, and then they just ride through them. But, dude, that wide shot with that music, just that kind of that, like, it's the part of the theme that it just has that awe-inspiring note to it. Like, you're not looking at an action sequence. You're looking at something that is literally awe-inspiring. Is that, you know, I'm talking about that high-pitched vocal note that someone is holding. That is what is playing as they're riding down into the orc on this wide shot, riding across your TV. It's so good.
None of it should work, and it's the most amazing thing you've ever seen in your life, and you're just like, how?
And right before that happens, the thing that makes me sit up in my chair every single time is, and I know it's coming, the first time it was, but now it's just like, oh, okay, it's almost here. It's coming. And I get ready and like sit up in the chair is when there's the little break of sunlight that comes up. And then you just see a white rider on a white horse at the top of the mountain. And in the light behind him, you see Carl Urban kind of come up. And you're just like, I know what he was doing. I know where he went.
yeah, because it's weird. You'd think they would mention that.
Yeah.
But they want it to be this whole like, oh yeah, that obviously that's where like, because you're just like, why wasn't Gandalf helping them? Like, where's he going?
Yeah,
it's like, oh yeah, duh, he's going to get their fucking army because they don't have a fucking army.
And then they just kind of all ride out of the light like they're coming directly out of heaven.
Yeah. Goddamn, this movie's so fucking good.
It's
These
so
movies are
good.
so we're not worthy. We don't deserve them at all. Like, thank you, Peter Jackson. Thank you, just like.
Thank you, but I have to give this back. I have to return this.
Well, we're not mad about King Kong, just disappointed. Yeah, I think that's gonna be a wrap for this episode, though. And obviously,
the
if we
cliffhanger.
think of something,
we didn't mention the cliffhanger though.
Maybe
she could do it.
Man, when you don't know what's gonna happen, that is such a cool tease for the next movie. It's like, oh, what the fuck is he talking about? Because I didn't know.
Yeah. I didn't know what a Shelob was.
Yeah, it's a great little tease. And Andy Serkis just fucking crushing it as always.
And that's the note that the movie ends on. Didn't it cut to credits from there as they're walking away?
Well, they pan up and then show just how close they are to Mordor, and then it cuts to credits. Yeah.
That's also the note you end on is that maybe she could do it, and then him, come on, hobbitses, come on, and you're just like, no, don't do it.
Yeah, and it's like, just follow me.
Yeah,
very good. And another thing that just makes Mordor look more like a fucking heavy metal cover album is the fact that not only do they show Mordor, but they also show the Nazgul flopping around. You're just like, god damn it, as if they didn't have enough problems, you know. The Nazgul are also there, and in multitude. It's fucking great, dude. Cannot wait to rewatch the third movie and talk about it.
Oh, I also forgot to mention that they literally laid out everywhere that Frodo and Sam were going in this movie near the end of Fellowship. Because and they're like, yeah, and then we just go straight to Mordor. And Gimli's like, straight to Mordor? Yeah, after you go through this place with razor sharp rocks, and that takes you to like this bog full of dead people. And it's and we saw all of those
that seems also
things.
Fucking awesome.
Yes,
again, what we talked about earlier, where the movie just can on a dime. When the movie came out on a dime to turn into a horror movie, that scene when he falls in the water and you just have like the fucking like lime green, and it's kind of cool too because they continue that concept in with the ghosts of the third movie because they're the similar coloring. It's really cool. But that sequence is amazing.
Release us.
The dead marshes, I think is what they're called or something like that. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, but Gimli literally tells you the roadmap Frodo is going to go on in Two Towers.
Razor sharp rock.
And they're barefoot.
Man. Yeah. Yeah, they might survive Mount Doom, but they're dying of tetanus or something, dude. It's just going to happen. This is going to happen. Yeah, anything else you want to touch on before we close it out?
Nope, our audience is about to be demanding we release them. Just like a fucking ghost.
There you go. Yeah, I'm excited. I know you said you had already watched Return of the King.
I'm gonna watch it again before we record because it's gonna,
nice.
It's too far out from the recording, but
and also just literally any excuse to rewatch it again. Yeah. It's so fucking good.
That still only counts as one. Aurora's gonna love that part. Gimli has all the best lines, best moments.
I have a feeling Return of the King ended up being her favorite, just because it's the most fucking bonkers one. It might be I'll have to think about it. I feel like I change my mind constantly between Two Towers and Return of the King. So we'll see which one is my favorite after this viewing, and we can talk about that at the end of the Return episode.
Although I do like the idea sometime. Maybe that is something we'll do around this time next year, is a commentary for these movies.
Yeah, just, at any point, any excuse, I'm down. Give me a microphone. Because all bullshit.
For anyone listening that wanted this to be a scene by scene play, like
it's not possible.
It's not possible. It's not possible. That would be a pretty perfect way to record that.
Yeah, you have to do it as a commentary, because if you just recap it, we're doing the movie a disservice, and it's just not possible. It's not feasible at all. But yeah, also found out Haldir is the name of our elf bro that unfortunately dies at Helm's Deep. So there you go. Also, like that the Lord of the Rings wiki is called the one wiki to rule them all. Well played. Well played. If you would like to follow the show more on your quest to find the third tower, you can find us on Twitter at SPR. Oh God, you don't want to watch the extended edition of that. No, it already. Just don't do it.
That's the joke we should have been making this whole time. And that's when my edition extended.
Yeah, the funny thing is this episode, this Two Towers episode, this is the edited down version. There's an even longer version with even more bad jokes. We did you a fucking favor.
Mm-hmm.
Ron, where can people find you when you're not also questing for the third tower?
I am Ronsense TV on YouTube and Twitter, and I'm going to be transitioning eventually to just occasionally on Twitch whenever I feel like it, not a set schedule or anything. By the time this comes out, I might be doing that. I don't know, but
kind of hanging up the cape
a little bit. I'm gonna focus a little bit more on YouTube stuff, just because it's more convenient not having the set schedule. But
yeah, I
still like, I have a very small community over on Twitch, but it's a good community, and I don't want to hang it up completely. I still like hanging out, but once I'm done with Bloodborne, which I've got Koss, Gehrman, and Moon Presence left, and that could all happen in one episode, one stream coming up. So once I'm done with Bloodborne, I'm going to be transitioning to no schedule on Twitch. So definitely follow me on Twitter if that is something you're interested in, because it won't be a set schedule anymore.
Yep, totally understandable. Yeah, totally get that. I did a set schedule on Twitch for like a week, and I was like, I don't know about that one, G.
YouTube stuff is pretty fun, and I want to try YouTube streaming, because it's a completely different beast than what it was.
It blows Twitch out of the fucking water. It's actually embarrassing how much better it is on YouTube. It just wasn't the first platform, so
right.
Yeah, there you have it. Yeah, I cannot wait to watch Return of the King again. It sounds like Ron can also not wait to watch it again within the span of like 6 days. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah. If we didn't watch it last night, then my wife wasn't going to get to finish the trilogy with me. So the way schedules are working out, and the fact that she has a job. So,
So selfish, man.
Oh, God,
imagine having a fucking job. What the fuck?
Takes a job over watching Lord of the Rings with me, her husband.
But the Oliphants.
I know.
Chris, the Oliphants. Just think, yeah.
If it wasn't almost midnight and I had 2 sleeping children downstairs, I would just literally just turn and just like, the Oliphants, Chris. Just as loud as I
could. Oh man. Yes, thanks everyone for listening, and have a good night.
You laughed, but I would have done it.
I would have done it.
I
also, for a split second, I was like, oh shit, we forgot to announce the next movie.
That one guy. What's the next movie? What are we watching?
Which one? Are we talking Ghostbusters? I mentioned Ghost. What the fuck are we talking about?
I like how I just invented this guy that's now a character of the podcast.
There's an army? You fucking bastards.
Because you know this is never going away. This is going to be an every episode thing now.
It's okay. We'll share the load, dude. We'll share the load. It's okay.